Good evening. Tonight, our entire show tonight is a dedicated, what I call a pregame warm-up show for the International Space Development Conference beginning this coming Thursday in Orlando. Our guest tonight is going to give us a complete picture of what the National Space Society's flagship event is all about, including a list of incredible speakers, 18 separate tracks. Yes, you heard that right. Not to mention a conference within a conference with 400 students attending from around the world. We're going to learn about that. And we'll carry on here in a second from the news desk at the Center for Space Commerce and Finance. My name is Andrew Olson, and this is the Unknown Quantity. And as you know, this program is brought to you by the Center for Space Commerce and Finance. And what is that? Well, we're a nonprofit organization here in the United States that champions and strengthens emerging space startups, space scalable small and medium businesses, and space adjacent enterprises worldwide through advisory, access, and advocacy across the funding spectrum. Our programs fortify business plans and investor readiness for founding teams at varying levels of development. Now, a lot of our work, especially this podcast, is supported by our listeners and fans like you. So if you go to the QR code at the upper left of the screen here shortly, it will take you to our donation portal. Keep helping us out. A little in the tip jar each month makes a big difference. Thanks in advance. Joining me now is my co-host, Michael Lane from Liftport. He's still limping around, but he's going to make it to ISDC after all. Michael, come in.
Hey.
Good. Baby. You're coming
Good
in.
news today. Good news today.
That's
I'm pretty
great
happy.
news.
Yeah.
Here's
I'm on the mend.
Yeah. It's not just you. It's been a lot of last minute struggle on all sorts of things. Like,
Right.
Just on Saturday, I got those flyers printed to put in the packets. I guess those are on the way now, hopefully.
Right.
And we're still putting stuff together for our big show we're doing on Thursday afternoon and getting that all cleared up. People had to drop away. Others had to change their schedule. I got some new people coming in. Half of them aren't even mentioned on the webpage now, so I don't know if we're going to get them or not. But we're going to do our best to have a really great show on Friday when we do the business track all day. And I think I can get you in there, Michael. I think we can shorten that panel to an hour and put you in there, and
Awesome.
You'll be here just ahead of Morty.
All right. That'll be super fun.
You'll be a hard act to follow for poor Morty.
I got some cool stuff I think I'm going to show. Yeah. It's good that we're both kind of on at the same time because
it's a good back to back. I think it'll be great.
Yeah.
I think it'll be great. So that'll be good. How's another one? I know we weren't going to talk about a whole bunch of news, but you had a couple of items that you wanted to bring up because I want to get our guest on as soon as we can, and we're going to just dive into what this conference is all about.
The whole point of today's show is to really talk about the experience at ISDC, what we're doing, why we're doing it. But I do have some stuff that I do think is kind of interesting, and maybe it just sticks in the back of people's heads. So I'll just pop these up quick.
I love that. I love to get in people's heads rent free and stay there. That's my favorite thing.
Well, there's a couple. There's a couple here. I mean, you know that we have talked about Isaacman like 25 times in the last 6 months, right? He has been a topic. I don't know that it was every single show that we had, but we had him on a lot of stuff. I love Eric Berger, big fan of his work. He did a one-on-one interview, and it is solid gold. And it was really interesting, some of the plans that Isaacman have. Now, I was a fan because he's probably the only guy that's going to get support from both the Reds and the Blues. Solid support in the purple sector, I think. I really can't figure out who might replace it. And honestly, I wouldn't want to be the guy who is second place to Jarek Eisenman. Like, that is going to be a hard act to follow.
That's true. He's always going to be looking over his shoulder. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and people are always going to compare him against the almost ran, right? So the things I thought were super interesting, and we'll have to check in with our guest, but I'm pretty sure Isaacman is still scheduled for ISDC, which is one of the reasons I brought him up.
He's
He
like the
wanted
first
to-
picture
Yeah, right.
on the list of
But
speakers.
you know, a lot has happened in that guy's life in the last 2 weeks, so
Yeah.
he might be on the front page. But I was actually hoping to get confirmation. So this thing, I mean, you know, really going full into nuclear spaceships. I think that is brilliant. I really wish for a world where we had nuclear spacecraft as a standard. I think that would have been awesome. I liked, you know, he talked a little bit about the politics of the situation, but he didn't go into it. He didn't have any axes to grind. But he's like, look, it would have been different if I had been there, right? We would have tried making it a more flat organization. There's many levels of bureaucracy. How can we modify that and have more direct ownership? Because there's always kind of a culture of buck passing.
Right.
I am not knocking NASA at all, but I have seen that in my own
absolutely.
experience, in my own stuff.
Sure, absolutely. Well, here's the thing: if he is, because Doug is on, he's bringing this up. I'm gonna phrase it a little differently, Doug. But it's now that Isaacman is out as of contention for NASA administrator. Might there still be a role with him in the agency someplace? Could he be brought back somewhere else to do something of merit?
I don't know. If you're nominated to lead it, do you want to be number 4 or number 17 or number 306? I don't know. I like this though, right? Suddenly he has a lot of time on his hands. He stepped down from his company, Shift 4. And so now he's trying to figure out what's next. So I bet you everybody at ISDC is going to try and tackle this guy and pitch.
Like I hope he has an entourage around him for protection. That's going to be insane.
Well,
can you imagine that? Those big beefy guys hanging around, you know.
Jared, if you're listening, expect me to pitch.
Don't go near him. Don't go. You know,
right.
Out the way.
So I thought that was kind of interesting. We're gonna switch gears here quickly because again, trying to get off to some stuff. Tom, you brought this up on our last show. You wanted to talk about you know, the federal debt as a component. This is the one that you wanted to see, right?
Absolutely.
How much we're bringing in as a nation and how much we're spending and what the difference is. This is the one that kills me, right? The interest on our debt
that just drives me nuts.
Is,
you know, why can't we do chapter 11?
It's about as right. Well, we can't do that.
I want to know why. I raise up these questions. No one can tell me why. Why should these guys get paid interest on the debt when the rest of us are going hungry? NASA's going hungry. You know, other people are not getting bennies.
Right.
All sorts of things going to be cut.
Yeah.
And we still need to cut $2 trillion, or we're screwed.
Yeah.
As a country, we're just screwed.
Right.
You have to cut that. Doge didn't get close. They're going to keep working on it. But the interest on the debt, that's $1 trillion right there. If we could just like put that aside for just like 2 years, you know?
Well, and I think this is a little bit outdated because I know that the defense budget, the NCAA, no, that's the wrong acronyms. It's something like that. Authorization Act, NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act. So we topped $1 trillion because Congress added in a new $125 billion to supplement this budget. So, but yeah, $1 trillion of interest that cannot be long-term good, right? That cannot be. So, and this is why space and the National Institute of Health and the National Space Science Foundation all got 25, 30, and 40% cuts because we got to pay for stuff. And yeah, it's hard to watch this. It's hard to watch this.
It's not going to end well. No matter how you look at it, what side of the fence you're on, it's not going to end well for anybody. Nobody's going to be happy with the outcome. I think it's
nobody is happy with this. All right, moving on quickly.
More money.
Another company I have never heard of got $15 million. That was
every week now we're getting this. Every week.
Last week, the week before that, like all of these companies that, I mean, you and I have been at this game for a long time. Collectively, we have 50 years in this industry. And week after week after week, a new company that we have never heard of shows up with, 10, 20, 30 million. This one's $50 million in the checking account. And they want to build 4,000 satellites. When I started in this industry, there were 400 satellites of the whole world.
Yeah.
And this one company wants to have 10 times the amount.
You wanted this show to be at the intersection of space and money. Welcome to the show, dude. And we're there. We're the only ones. We're there. We're really pushing this. So that's great.
Sean is in the background. He's like, let's face it, guys, you're jealous. Yep, absolutely.
Somebody else.
Absolutely.
Doug has been piping up here. He's on fire tonight. He is on fire tonight. He says Jared should start a company to develop surface systems. Maybe that would be a great idea.
I think he's going to go to this thing and see all the cool ideas. Like, he's had tunnel vision. He said that in the article I just posted. He's had tunnel vision focusing on NASA for the last 6 months, reading reports, doing interviews, going around and meeting people. But I really do wonder if he understands the vibrancy and the bigness, I'm going to use that word on purpose, of this industry and all the cool things that are happening, right? So Doug, Dr. Plata, I really do hope you're right that he will build something directly, because he did mention that there were some science projects at NASA that he would have personally funded if he had to.
That's amazing.
So, yeah, that is amazing. I would actually be angry about that. That should not be a person's responsibility or a corporation's responsibility. That should definitely be a part of a national budget. But that he's willing and able, it's great to have benefactors.
You know what? Also, in the age of $2 trillion deficits, we may have to start rethinking how we pay for shit. We've had this official thing going on for 80 years or something. Even Margaret Thatcher
I will point out,
tough it out.
I will point out that individual income taxes is 20% ish of corporate taxes. Yeah. Change this number and all of these other numbers get better. Just saying. I know not everybody's going to agree with me, but that's why there's a red and a blue.
They don't agree only because businesses don't pay taxes. They just don't.
Right. That's my point.
You don't get the point. You'll charge them 20% extra tax. They will pass that on to everybody else. Mm-hmm. So they don't actually, you're not actually paying anything. You are. You still end up paying.
Yep. I get that. Yeah. All right. That's why there's a good mix of red and blue on this show, because we don't.
And we're not going to back down, folks. We're just not going to do it.
No, the heck we're not. All right, so this one was really interesting, and this one is worth digging into. We're not going to spend the time on it. It's a little bit of an eye chart. I'm going to recommend that people take a look at this link and actually look at the data, the Excel spreadsheet. I'm a nerd. I like Excel spreadsheets. I think it's really interesting. But the Aerospace Corporation is the think tank of the Air Force and Space Force and a lot of other national National Institute of Science and Standards and Measured, blah blah blah. They are the think tank for Congress for space stuff. 3,000 PhDs employed and lots of other folks. They do really interesting work, and I do recommend them as a path. But this one was pretty interesting, and I'm gonna try to share this because there's so this is the link to the file. Let me stop sharing that and share the PDF. And I'm not going to dig into it in depth, but I do recommend that it be something that people look at because it was kind of eye-opening to me. Nothing's happening. There we go. So this. So what they did is they looked at all 17 organizations in the civil space budget of the U.S. Mm-hmm. Really want to emphasize this is not a military budget. There's no DoD. There's no Space Force in here. So this is just the budget for the other 17 civil orgs. Mm-hmm. Of course, NASA is there, but really, it's only 58% of the budget. Mm-hmm. I was really surprised to see the Department of Energy has so much. I had no idea that Smithsonian was even in the game. Yeah, okay, it's only 0.16%, so not very much. USDA 1.17, not very much. NSF only has 2.4%. I thought that was ridiculously low. NOAA only has 1.5%. I thought that was ridiculously low. So there were some surprises in here. And what they did is they broke it down by, I know you can't read this, it's too small for the screen, but these are the 17 organizations within the government. And they're like, all right, how do we spend our money? So they broke it down by organization, and then they broke it down by applications, right? Manufacturing, science, growth, homeland security, etc. It was really interesting. Again, nobody can read this. I'm just going to tell you, I did the math after looking at the spreadsheet. It's north of $43 billion, $43 billion as part of the civil sector of space in the U.S. That was a much higher number. I know everybody's angry about the science budgets being cut. I get it. Mm-hmm. I'm one of those people. But I was really surprised how much there still was by individual sections. So this is worthwhile. It talks about other organizations have different budgets. You know, who really thinks about the U.S. Geologic Service having a space budget? They do, but nobody thinks about it. I don't think about it, and I'm in this industry. So what this kind of clued me in is that there's probably other sources of capital through SBIRs, STTRs, other research programs. It's a wider net than I thought of. And that was actually very eye-opening to me. That's why I bring it up today.
Okay.
Last thing, this is super minor. I was doing my own research for my own projects. I love Space Capital. These folks are great. I recommend them all the time. I wanted to know how much they have a very cool portal for knowledge. They put all of their stuff, well, much of their stuff, raw information, not detailed information. They put it all online, and you can run the queries all day long. So I want to know how much money has gone into the lunar sector from the United States. Turns out it's not even $1 billion yet. I thought it was higher than that. And turns out it's only 24 companies. If you take the US out of it, it's 36 companies. But this, I want to point out, is only tracked data. So there's, I think, a couple hundred companies that are untracked, that are kind of flying under the radar, which is why companies can show up with a $50 million
And we're going to be
fundraise.
talking about some of that, especially in the international side, and the panel we're doing on the business track on Friday. So we have something to start with, which is really good. At this point, we probably should start going into the topic tonight. The International Space Development Conference is the flagship event for the National Space Society. They've been doing it for decades, literally, and we're having another great one this year coming up. It starts Thursday and goes through Sunday, and there are 18 different tracks of every kind of topic you can think of regarding space, not just my business track, which is my personal favorite. And I'll just keep shamelessly plugging it all night. But and Michael's going to be there, and Sean's going to be there. You're going to meet Sean in person on Thursday. You never see our producer, Sean Key. He's absolutely amazing. He makes all the magic happen. And you get to see him live in real time on Thursday in Salon 16 between Salon 18, between 2 and 4 p.m. on Thursday afternoon. And we'll get back to that. Right now, I want to bring in our guest, the El Presidente himself, the president of the National Space Society, Isaac Arthur. He's going to come in. We're going to start talking about this incredible conference that we're putting on. Isaac, welcome to this weird and crazy show.
Thank you for having me on, Tom. Mike,
I just love having you. So let's get started. Where do you want to start? You want to start with speakers? You want to start with programming? What do you want to start with? Just why you do it? Does it make money? We're at the intersection of space and money. Is ISDC traditionally make some money for you guys, or is it kind of a loss leader that just helps your brand?
I believe it does. Obviously, it's primarily done around the idea of helping the brand. But last I heard, we were making a profit with it. I don't know what the numbers are off the top of my head, so I won't give them to you. But while we're doing the news segment, you brought up Jared Isaacman. I just want to say, yes, he is still coming to the best of my knowledge.
Yes.
He was actually invited before the election. So he's receiving an award on behalf of the Players Don team. So he got an award for us some years back, and we had decided this year for the Von Braun Award, one of the ones we give out every other year, that Players Don was just the ideal group to get that, and he was available to come receive it. Unfortunately, the other team members are in Europe at the time, if memory serves, for a different conference. So we are expecting him to come and get it still. No change of plans thus far.
Okay. Is he actually speaking at that event?
I'm glad that he's getting an award.
He
definitely deserves it.
So, let me just double check. Yes, he's the keynote award for Saturday night. Keynote speaker, I should say. We're also doing the Rothblatt Competition Awards too for all the space business stuff. So that's Saturday night. So
Saturday night, yeah, I'm going to that. I didn't go to every meal event. I just don't have the time. But but I am going. Yeah, I am going to the governor's dinner and the award banquet. I always do those. When I'm there.
And so, for those who don't know the background of that, the Friday night one is usually the primary awards one. We do give out awards at every lunch and dinner, basically, at this point in time. But Friday night's kind of our main awards night, and then the governor's dinner is the Saturday night one. And that would be Jared Isaacman is the speaker for Saturday night. And for Friday night, I should really know this guy. I'm emceeing Friday night. Dr. James Green. He's the.
I love Green.
Sorry, that is the governor's dinner for that one.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So what are we covering? I've got let's see where I can find. I've got all this. I see here. I have to pull up the site that has all the different tracks on it.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of them.
But then I can't see you guys. I have to.
I got
the web page.
I can give them all to you. I got one up on the side screen here, another one right here because it's a lot.
There's a lot of stuff. So we're talking about spaceports.
Yeah.
We have a space solar power symposium that runs for 2 days, I believe.
That is Friday for sure. Yeah, Friday and Thursday mornings. So Friday, Thursday afternoon and Thursday and Friday morning on Space Solar.
Okay.
I'm going to do a plug for the spaceports one because we talk about it on this show a lot as being one of the critical limiters of the space infrastructure environment. That there's not enough spaceports in the world, and the shocking concentration in the U.S. doesn't do the rest of the world any justice. So, I'm curious to see where that one's going to go.
I actually ended up doing an episode on that. It's coming out next month on innovations for that, and it's interesting to see for my own show, not for the NSS.
Yeah,
It's
sure.
interesting to see how the changed all kind of going from that kind of classic concrete military bunker slab of a launch pad to what's almost more like a campus. One part business, one part tourism.
Yeah.
And it's a big change. Actually, our headquarters is there now. Of course, not too far from where the event will be at. We moved the NSS headquarters to Kennedy Space Center, and so very appropriate place for it. And that'd be, I would say, quite just down the road from where we're at in Orlando for this event, but relatively speaking. So.
In your show, are you covering some of the sea launch systems that are in development?
Just a very little bit. I had a friend who was with the CEO, I believe, for Ripple, which was working on a completely sea-based launch system years back as kind of a follow-up to the Sea Dragon design they had way back. And I don't know where that went over the recent years. I don't keep up on those ways as much as I should, but it is same thing for like space elevators too. There's such a role there for, I would say, outside international waters there makes it much easier to do a lot of launching, less regulation, but less things disturb too. And even from an ecological standpoint, if you're out in the deep sea, there's really not that much to disturb. So compared to like a reef bed or something like that. So it's definitely a place to move forward on that, though. You always have the problem, same for like building up the side of a mountain in Ecuador. If you want to do a launch ramp there as well, you still need some place that people want to live. And while you can eventually get them to move there, like you with Vegas, people want to go there because that's where the jobs are. That's a bit of an uphill. So
yeah.
Now I'm curious. I mean, we're just talking about the possibility of just space sports here on Earth, a regulatory evolution, the global network. I don't suppose there's going to be any discussion of future spaceports on places like the Moon or Mars, right?
I don't know for sure. I did cover in that episode, of course, because I usually have problems staying within 10 or 20 years of the present. But there is that big issue, and it probably comes with the moon track too. How do you get that regolith packed down there in some fashion so it doesn't blow all over the place?
Well,
and we have a lot of potential solutions, but it's so hard to test those without actually having a nice permanent moon base there.
I know a couple of guys that are working very hard on that, but they're not. It's hard to actually show you how they can do it.
Sure.
That's the hardest part.
I think it's Icon is I can't remember his name at the moment. From Icon, they are doing 3D printing designs for buildings in general, but they have a space version for doing 3D printing on the moon for buildings. That's fascinating as an option because it's so very ISRU, and that's kind of the key to anything permanent there.
Exactly. Yeah, because I know Sam Jimenez does a lot of work on that. He hasn't been on the show yet, but
did you say Doug Plata was in the chat?
Doug Plata is in the house, man.
Yeah, he is. Talk for the NSS not that long ago. I was at for space forums on doing inflatable habitats on the moon. It was actually impressive. So
yeah. Doug's a pretty regular guy. We've had him on the show once I think, and I've had him on other shows as well, but he's a pretty regular. He tunes into this pretty frequently, so we like having Doug around.
Hi, Doug.
So there's going to be a space settlement track. In fact, Doug has a paper that is going to get presented. It's a combination of Sean Key, myself, I think Bruce McKenzie, although I'm not sure of that, and Doug's paper. We're going to be talking about the logistics and containerization and why we think it's time for that to happen. So
that's one of our favorite topics on this program.
It is. Yeah. We Isaac, we brought in Professor Levinson, I don't know, one of our earliest shows.
It was like 2-3 months ago, maybe 3 months ago.
Yeah.
We had him on. And he wrote the book literally on the history and usage of shipping containers and how that whole thing got started.
It is a very good supply of them. I was surprised, like even the small end ones, like 3,000 tons or something like that. But they're cheap. They're perfect for anything you want to do. Space elevators too. They're a great platform for that. And you don't have to have like a Panamax size freighter for these things either. They're just ideal. Right. Although I suppose Panamax isn't really all that big compared to the freighters these days.
Right. right.
Some of those things are huge.
I don't know what they're going to.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't know what they're going to do for the space history one. Do you have any insight on that?
Let me see who's actually sharing that one at the moment.
Probably just
okay. That's Bert. Bert's doing that one along with Mark. So Draper is coming to speak. Jay Honeycutt from NASA is coming to speak. So that's probably going to be the main one there. And Scott Vanjian. I'm not. Let me see what they're.
I know Michael Haddad, Scott Vanagan.
Yep.
Yeah, these guys are mostly talking about
shuttle history.
The evolution of the human space program, the historical significance of the Canaveral launch facilities, and they're going to do a retrospective on the shuttle's astro observatory missions, and of course talk about the technological advancements, the cultural impacts, and the milestones that most of us gray-bearded guys already know a lot about. But for the younger people, that's going to be a great session to go to, and they'll see where we came from, and they'll appreciate better where we're going.
We are doing tours leaving from the hotel the day before and after the conference to one of them goes to Kennedy Space Center and the other one's going to the museum, which I think there's going to be part of that track there. So what's it specifically called? Well, the Kennedy Space Center Museum, but it's definitely a worthy sight to see it. So I think I would argue our one here in Ohio, the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base Museum is this even better aerospace museum, but I would certainly say it's just a matter of fondness for Ohio. Ours is better, but it's definitely worth seeing. I know they are doing tours for those who are coming on the earlier side.
So we, Tom and I often disagree on this one. Space-based solar power. Where do you land on space-based solar power?
You know, I first got exposed to it by Isaac Asimov, who is my actual namesake too, because my family's geeky. In one of his stories, where they had one of the early robot stories, they were beaming power back from Mercury and basically talked about how wrong would be a death ray. So I thought the idea was insane. And then way back, like maybe 8 years ago, I was talking to, I want to say it might have been Keith Henson and Chris Holland, but I got talked into looking at a second time and how the safety on it would actually go, since I had actually gotten an education since then. But I got converted and I did an episode on power satellites. And we ended up doing another one. It wasn't specifically limited to space solar power, but it was a big feature in our episode, Clean Energy from Space last year, which I actually co-wrote that one with Dale Scran and a couple other folks from our organization.
Yeah, sure.
And I'm a strong convert these days. So
a strong convert. All right, cool.
Cool. It definitely has, but the idea that it can be weaponized, I think, is kind of right. You can weaponize anything ultimately, but I think the safety concerns over it are overdone. Same for space elevators. People say it could fall down and crush us. That's just not there in the engineering. There are other legitimate objections, but that one at least is wrong. So
yeah, I moved away from the Earth elevator a long time ago, probably 10, 15 years ago, officially. Like, I'm done with it. I still believe in the physics, chemistry. That's all solid. It's not going to hurt anybody if it comes down. It just isn't.
Yeah,
like
I'm the exact opposite side of that. I was well, it's an interesting idea, but it can't be made practical. And then Peter Swan, actually, from he's in charge of a space elevator track. Him and Adrian Nixon got me, and they just walked me through their current numbers and plans. And you got to be able to manufacture more at first, but the progress, especially with graphene super laminate these days, it actually looks like it might turn out to be possible, as opposed to some of the other options like a tethered ring or an orbital ring, which I also am a huge fan of.
Right. I've known Swan for a decade and a half. Yep. I'm definitely impressed by him. I've known Larry. Larry shocked me one day with one of his comments. I know a lot of these folks. Blaise was a young MIT master's student the first time I met him. Now he's a PhD. I know a lot of these folks. I've been in this club for a long, long time. I wish them all the best. I don't have any confidence. I have a total confidence in the physics. I've lost confidence in the finance operations, law, policy, that sort of stuff. So that's kind of where I've moved away.
Yeah, well, that was some of the problem I had about space solar. And so the biggest thing that bothers me about it, they're still not giving a straight answer when it comes to the actual beaming part. Seems to be the weakest link with all this. I know a guy, his name is Nobu Kaya. You've probably heard of him. He actually did beam some power between two Hawaiian islands a few years ago. Mm-hmm. And the thing, and it seems to me as late as 2017, there were serious questions about the the ability to actually beam the power to the ground from 22,000 miles in space. Right now, we're beaming, 10, 15, 20, maybe 30 miles between a couple of Hawaiian islands, but the throughput is really awful. And in fact, I had Nobu Kaya at my house. We went over this for like a weekend, just he and I. He was just filling my head with stuff, right? He's basically saying from his work, he was saying, okay, we'll put 500 watts in, and we might get 5 watts out at the other end.
Oh.
I think
we're only going basically across town, not thousands of miles.
Right.
And so, what's this going to take?
I'm going to punt on that one and say people
breakthroughs
should
in that?
go
'Cause I
to
haven't
that
seen
to the solar power one and talk to John about that, because I bet they can give you some answers. But it's an impressive idea, and to me, the biggest thing about space solar power, if it can be made to work, is that it becomes a genuine major Kickstarter for us. Like, we're making more progress in space all the time, but it's one of those things that's even better than asteroid mining is that $1 trillion industry that you just move to space. So much stuff can piggyback off that, and you get scale on everything else. Now, so if it can be made to work, it's awesome. And I was not happy with the NASA report that kind of said, well, the stuff's only going to last 10 years because they picked it out of a hat, for instance. That was not a very fair thing, I think. But yeah, there are many objections to all these systems. It's like with space elevators, show me a tether a mile long and see whether we can actually use some mechanical testing. I think we'll have one inside the next 5-10 years. Though,
I mean, I see the use. I can see the use of space solar. I can see it on a place like the moon or Mars in particular.
Oh, absolutely.
When you're trying to, it's an easy way to jumpstart a power grid on an early settlement without a lot of effort. Probably I know for Mars, probably maybe 2 Falcon heavy loads could handle the whole thing, and then go all the way out there and deploy the power stats in orbit and deploy their antennas on the ground, and boom, next day you have a power grid. And so that might be very, very handy. I don't know if you're going to build something around Earth that's going to replace, and totally replace other types of energy in terms of feeding the whole power grid around the world. Because we can build thorium reactors now. China is already proving this. We can build thorium reactors fairly cheaply and deploy them quickly, and they're not very toxic compared to the old school, uranium reactors. So we could be building those at the rate of 1 a month till 2050.
Nuclear is a whole other story.
Have it all. We don't need to launch anything. There's that argument.
I'm definitely. I think it's a race between, small trash can sized nukes that can power a neighborhood and just get as many of them as you need. In the same way that as time marched on, the Earth elevator became less and less useful, less and less possible. I also think that might be true for space-based solar power. I'm a big fan. I got into this industry because of space-based solar power. I got into the elevator because there was no rocketry that was going to be big enough to manage space-based solar power. I switched over to the lunar elevator to take resources off of the moon, turn the regolith off the moon, and turn that into solar panels. But I do wonder if the small nukes, are going to outpace our development. But we're a long way.
We are in a position of being cursed with an abundance of good options.
We have a lot of options right now.
If you look at solar in 1980 on the gold calculators, right? And that's made so much progress. And we could feed the entire grid right now with solar economically, had not every other technology also improved. The same for nuclear. So it's that rising is like, we get to here in 10 years, we'll be profitable. Unfortunately, everybody else got up there too, so now it moved the benchmark up. But from our side, it's something that's frustrating. But at the same time, from our side, it's again, you're being cursed with an abundance of options.
It's better to have those choices, right?
I would love to see all of the above, because you find out which one works best that way. And same for like spacecraft. I could see doing some beaming energy systems or electromagnetic tethering for station keeping. Or you might even say, well, we can beam this to run an ion drive. We can't get a nuclear power spacecraft. I love the idea of using nuclear spacecraft outside of low Earth orbit. And that's definitely an option. You have to mine the stuff somewhere. And of course, that's all these things are, I want to say catch-22 because that's not it. But you have the slow rollout that comes from just little improvements here and there that we've all been suffering through for the last 50 years. Which is finally picking up and snowballing. But it could snowball faster with something like asteroid mining taking off, or with space-based solar taking off if they can. Same for space elevator, same for a mass driver. There's so many options out there. We just have to get them to work, and we have to decide to focus on a few of them, or at least get them all running, get a few genuinely decent projects going. And that has been our problem with NASA in general. And I don't want to single NASA out, obviously, for that,
Right.
but I'm going to anyway. So it's that we haven't really got a key focused project the same way we had for Apollo, for instance. And that's not their fault. They don't decide what the priorities are, but it has been the bane of kind of the progress as we all split in many different directions, and it has its pros and its cons.
Yeah. Tom, what do you want to say about the space track? You're running the show here. Anybody you want to highlight?
Oh, and which space? Me, mine?
Yeah. The
space business track? Absolutely.
Business track, yeah.
Let's go to that really quickly. I've got a couple of guys that are going to be coming in. Let me see where
we know that Joe Luttrell's going to be here. We've had Joe as a guest actually twice.
Joe's been great. I can't wait to hear from Wes Ferris. He's going to talk about asteroid mining and a bunch of things. Joe Luttrell, he's got some big thing to show. He's got a show and tell. Yeah, it's going to be really good. Jim Plaxco. He's doing a big arm waving kind of 50,000 foot level thing about space industrialization proper. Cool. And and I have this woman's coming in, Dr. Sylvia Schlemalzel, and I've seen her paper. It's Systemic Strategies for Sustainable Growth in the Space Economy. But my God, cool. there is a bunch of stuff there that's going to blow your mind when you see it. And of course, Emma Spurlock is going to be talking how we get from they're working on a fusion type power system on their own company, the ZC Institute. But they also as a side issue, a side effect of building this fusion system, there may be a way to go straight to a warp drive, and he's going to talk about that, and that's going to be a whole lot of fun. Anker Verma is not coming, unfortunately. He was going to, and that was someone I was really looking forward to. He says he'll come next year. He has his own system that he's using to accelerate onboard computing in space. Basically, he's developing a system that'll run a fully functional AI, but without a lot of the infrastructure that you normally associate with an AI. Much smaller processors, much less power intensive systems, and it's something you could pack off to Mars and it would actually be useful. And he just wasn't able to come. But I've got someone else from I think it's Keystone Investments. He's coming in, and he's going to be talking about building infrastructure through a different kind of investment plan to build infrastructure.
That's interesting. That's not Livingston. That's not David Livingston.
No, that's not David Livingston.
I got the wrong name. It's not Livingston. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. There's also a fella named Josh White. He's worked a lot in the Middle East, building companies and doing a lot with entrepreneurship and investment in the Middle East and at other places. And he's going to be part of our 2:00 panel, talking about the international aspects of entrepreneurship and investment. We almost always at these conferences talk about entrepreneurship and investment like it's a U.S. and Canadian and sometimes Europe only club, and it really isn't. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on all over the world now, especially in space entrepreneurship and investment development, including Africa and the Middle East.
There's 12 funded lunar companies, right? Yep. That I didn't make my list, but it's important to point that out, right? Half of the stuff is not. I'm sorry, a third of the total is non-U.S. lunar companies, which I was really surprised at. Yeah.
And we're going to be talking a lot more about that in our session on Friday.
All right. Isaac, are you going to be able to drop in at any point? Are you going to be a part of
there for almost the entire time? I'm popping out to visit with a friend briefly, but other than that, I'll be there from Wednesday through our wonderful board meeting on Monday. And,
right. No, I know you're going to be there the whole time. I was asking, are you going to be able to pop into the space business track at any point?
I should be able to, yeah.
Yeah, good.
Okay.
We'd love to. We'd love to
see if
have
I
you
can
there.
get in there for Wes. Well, Wes is at Friday right before I have to get ready to MC the event, so I will be there anyway. But I probably gonna have to miss Wes's just to be able to.
Well, also, if you can also come in, especially for our special show that we're doing on Thursday afternoon, that would be great. We'll get you on there, get you on camera, get you in front of an audience. I'm trying to give back. I want to give. There's a lot of great people that are involved in putting this conference together. So I'm not just inviting the people from my session to come in and say hi, but also all the people involved in the production of this thing. I'm just one of dozens that were involved in this. I've invited them all to come in. Hey, let's give you some recognition and get you some applause, and because they deserve it. A lot of people work tirelessly behind the scenes to make ISDC happen, and we want to give them some credit and some recognition.
Yeah,
and make them famous for 15 minutes.
So we got some of those ones on the Friday night dinner. We get to give out our excellence awards this year, and we've got Larry's actually one of the recipients this year, along with Larry. I mispronounced his last name, Larry Boschak, and Lily Rader.
Yeah.
I butcher it every single time. Larry Hayter and Nick Bates are also going to be in those, along with Hoyt Davidson, actually. So we got some really good, very worthy people to be getting that award. I actually have one. I don't know if it's visible at the one behind me on the wall. Actually, I think it's right there. It's probably on screen. But the Excellence Award is one of the ways we thank our volunteers, and there are a lot of them. And it's almost impossible to really emphasize how much effort goes into running something like the ISDC behind the scenes before and after, like the student contest. That's anything with the folks who are running around, making sure the place doesn't fall apart, to chaperoning the students coming in from other countries, the space settlement contests, and it really is just a massive effort across the board. And of course, it's not just limited to the ISDC events too. So,
right. I mean, y'all are kind of like an octopus organization. You have your fingers and tentacles into a lot of different organizations. You have a lot of reach.
They were entire groups of the organization I did not know existed until I've been president for over a year. And now, to be fair, they kind of got me out of the blue on that one. I come down there to get the Pioneer the 1 year and liked it. And they had said, "Do you think you might be interested in having you involved with us in the future?" So, sure. I get a call from Dale and the others on behalf of the board saying, "Would you mind taking a role with the National Space Society?" I was like, "Oh, sure, yeah. I'd be glad to come talk to you." And sometimes I say, "Well, we had something a little bit more in mind. Would you mind being the president?" I was like, oh, can't really say no to that, can
Right.
I was just trying to find out. I was like, I don't even know who our board members are or how many boards. There were so many boards. We have
There's a lot of boards.
And to get stuff done, it's all over the place. But there are so many groups, chapters, organizations, they're all going on getting things done. So
yeah,
it's not one of those ones that people joined.
That must be tough to keep track of.
Oh yeah. I remember before she passed, Anita was she convinced me I need to she used to go to most of the virtual Zooms at least once every couple of months. She'd check in, and I just started going to a few of them myself before she passed last year, and it was quite an experience. I don't know how she kept up with them all, but she and Dale actually seem to know every single one of these groups, and I think if I have another decade at it, I might be able to pay off.
Okay, all right.
Well, I'm excited about the moon track because lunar elevator. I've known Dr. Thangvalu for a long time. We're both old ISUers. We've been in this community for a long time. I like this track. I do. I'm not trying to throw shade, but I was a little surprised that it's mostly academics and not a lot of folks building systems to go to the moon. I find it a little bit funny. This guy lives only about 30 miles from me. We've talked about going and having a beer. I'm going to have to go 3,000 miles to get a beer with him, which I find pretty entertaining. I'm looking forward to meeting up with Manny. It's been a long time. I love this track. I would have liked a little bit more commercialization side of it. That's my bias, right? Obviously,
sure.
You're going to have folks on different tracks. A lot of the times it's just who's available to speak on which track. So I'm on 3 or 4 of them at the moment, and we were going down that list, at least 2 of the other track chairs were speakers in that one. So I know Pascal's got one, Madu's got one. There's quite a few of them. 18 tracks going on.
Oh, I know. So we have a little bit for everything. We have things that kind of overlap a little. Many roads to space. There's also space infrastructure, and there's also space settlement, and there's space health, and all these things tie together and kind of overlap. I presume Zubrin's going to be in the Mars track.
He is definitely coming to. He's in a different track too. He's talking on.
Yeah.
One of the ones with me on Sunday, I believe.
I don't think I've seen Zubrin on a Mars track at ISDC in a long time. But the last time I saw him, the best talk I ever heard him give was in 2011 in Huntsville, and he was the first guy on at 8 in the morning or something on a Sunday, and it was perfect. It was the Bob Zubrin revival meeting, and that's just what it sounded like. Like a fire and brimstone preacher, waving his good book, and his hair's on fire, and it was absolutely. I hope he goes back to that, because that was him at his best. And
he's always an inspiring talker. I remember reading Case for Mars, Case for Space, way back in the day, and it was just one of those ones that really gets you, convinced this is actually possible. Because especially in the 90s, when I was starting my undergrad up back then, it was one of those, we haven't been back to the moon for all this time, and we say we're going to do it next week. And we had 2 more decades of this is just drag along till SpaceX and others start kind of moving things forward again. And his work on that, and some of his other books too, Merchants of Despair is a personal favorite too that he wrote, a very good one. But just a great thinker all around. And for that matter, Pascal, who is running the track, he does a lot of work on both Mars and the moon, and they're for me, they're great sources for potential content. Every time I go to one of these things, I'm looking around for episode ideas for material, and I have to get away with them too.
Yeah,
and it's a place where if you enjoy talking about the stuff, you will find someone who shares that really abstract, very niche interest of yours. There's somebody there who knows like the back of their hand, probably because they designed it.
Yes. Right. Yeah.
Now I gotta bring this up because our time is running low. But I was going to bring up this topic earlier because we're supposed to have another guy on here to talk about it, and he couldn't make it. But I got to bring it up. Something that's going on at this conference. It's kind of a conference within a conference involving students from around the world. And there's we got 500 people signed up right now to be to attend ISDC, but we got another 400 kids coming from places like India and Turkey and Romania and China and
most of the event.
Yeah. And I know there's contests and things they're getting involved in, and they have stuff that's unique for them. What little can you tell us about what's going on with that?
Not as much as Lynn Zelinsky or Francis could tell us, of course. I don't know if was Francis the one going to talk about tonight, or was it
Francis? We had Francis tag. She wanted to send Xavier Gonzalez, and now he's in transit or something. And
well, any of those 3 would be able to tell you so much more about it. I usually come there because for those my background on this, space habitats are always my bread and butter topic. I love them, and so going in there, you will see about 1,500 different designs for Stanford toruses and burnospheres there, and the cylinders. And I just love to see them. They have these contests. You get students in from all over the world, particularly India and Romania in recent years, and they are so enthusiastic about it. And the teams are just so amazing. You just go through there and you stop let me tell you about my ideas. I'm not one of the judges. I still want to tell you about my idea. It's just a wonderful group of kids. And most of them, a lot of them will come over here for college shortly thereafterwards too. So, when we talk about being a STEM pipeline, that's one of our goals. The NSS is to be that STEM pipeline. And, that is one of the ways in which we serve it. And they are so enthusiastic. And it's just, if whatever you're coming from, it's open for hours. Take at least a few minutes to go in there and see them. It's amazing.
Well, absolutely. I got lucky one year. It was 18 or 19 when we were in LA, I think.
Yeah.
We actually did a business track. We did a business track that year too. But we also, there was a little piece during the day where everybody in the different tracks were given a student presentation. Students would come in and give a little presentation for 10 minutes. I got so lucky because I had some students. I look at the draw. I drew students from China who are mostly older students. They're like, junior, senior level in high school, not, junior high. And so they were up there and they were showing their habitat idea, but they did a business plan. They showed a business plan, how they were going to make this habitat pay for itself with all the numbers and everything. I thought, this is perfect.
It ranges a lot. One of the kids there, he couldn't have even been 12. He was telling me his idea. And he did a pretty good presentation on it, especially for his age. Then you have others where it's like, well, the numbers will be a little bit off and they just scale something up and you're looking, this is not quite right, but good effort. Others where it's like, wow, this is at least as detailed as what you'd need to make the nice little model from 2001 that we all love looking at. That
right.
Yeah. We have the Clark Award this year too. Speaking of that, so we're giving that to Joe Haldeman this year.
Oh, great.
Okay, yeah.
And that should be one too.
Yeah.
So, but there's the other one. So you have Brian Versteeg from Space Labs. That's all that beautiful. He's receiving the Pioneer this year, and if you're looking for someone who can do beautiful designs of space habitats, Brian is.
I have a Versteeg picture right next to me, right next to me.
With the possible exception of Don Davis, there was nobody who has ever captured that just done such a good job showing what the inside of the habitat should look like. And I know he's mentioned them before because a lot of those, but I wanted to see if I could grab him to take a tour through those the examples by the students. But he's receiving our first Pioneer in Compelling Art since Pat Rawlings got it in 1988. And there's only been two other get out before them. One of them was to a symphony orchestra.
I have a quick story to say about the students. I had just given a presentation on, this is way back. This has got to be 10, 15, 18 years ago. I gave a presentation on the elevator. I was still working on the Earth elevator. And the way I answer questions in an audience is, the youngest person first, right? The old people, they can wait, right? And so I'm like talking to the kids. Now I'm starting to talk to adults. There's this gray-haired guy, long gray-haired guy, Indian guy. I'm like, he's got to be a professor. He knows what I'm doing. It's obvious what I'm doing. Finally, it's his turn, and he asked me a couple of questions about the elevator and space-based solar power, and I was happy to answer it. And then somebody comes over and nudges me and is like, do you know who you're talking to? I'm like, no. It was the president. It was former President Kalam of India, who just happened to be in the audience with all the other kids, and I made him wait. He was no longer president anymore. He was now running ISRO, but that's how I mentioned it. Yeah.
So it's classic Lewis of faux pas. That's
classic.
But I'm going to guess because I think I actually remember him that he was probably a very classy individual. So
he was so great. Doug Plata wants to mention that he's got the inflatable green hab that he's going to be displaying at ISDC. So yep, thank you, Doug. Appreciate it. And with that, we are starting to run out of questions. Running out of time. We always ask 2 questions. We don't have a lot of time here, so be succinct. Where are we going to be in 5 years? And where are we going to be in 25 years?
I think in 5 years, we're going to be hopefully launching a replacement for the International Space Station. And 25 years, there's going to be at least one of them for every major space power or major corporation. I think that we'll start seeing at least 1 or 2 rotating ones at that point in time, even smaller tether-based systems. So that's what I think it would be in terms of that. I think we're going to have 10 times as many satellites we have now, at least, and that we're going to be having a lot of arguments over noise pollution.
That puts us at 100,000 plus.
God, I could believe it too easily. Yeah,
that would be great.
Yeah.
Do you think it will take 25 years to get to that number?
To be honest, no, I don't think it will take that long to get that number. But
it's taken us 25 years to get to where we are.
Yeah.
And we thought a lot of this stuff would happen sooner, but here we are.
It's finally snowballing.
So it's gonna, everything takes a little longer than expected.
Yeah. But it is, we are at that snowball point. I really,
we are.
There is no
agree.
better time to be involved in space because this is the boom time.
And we're glad to be alive to be here, especially me. On that note, Isaac Arthur, president of NSS, thank you so much for coming on and giving us a great warm-up to the conference that starts Thursday.
Looking forward to seeing you both there. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. We're going to have a great time. All righty.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Yep. And don't forget, our next show, Thursday show, is a live show. We're doing it at the Rosen Center Hotel. It is in Salon 18 between the hours of 2 and 4 p.m. And it's Salon 18 is a big room. They say it'll hold 75 people. So everybody get in there, show up, show some support, cheer a lot, stamp and scream. We want to do this. We're doing this from a live audience, and we want them to be live. We want to have audience interaction and cheering and applause, especially for all the great people that we're going to be introducing that have put on this great conference. And some of the people are going to, from my track, are going to give you a little tease of what they're going to talk about, including the ones that you couldn't see on the website. You'll be meeting them on that day as well. And that's all we got for now. And we'll see you Thursday. It's going to be an amazing day. We're going to make some history. We're going to have some fun. And so from the news desk at the Center for Space Commerce and Finance, for Michael Lane and Sean Key, I'm Thomas Andrew Olson. Keep watching the skies.